Welcome back to the Fit for Life podcast. I'm Herman Lynn. We got Brooks Coleman here. And today we got a really exciting episode. So if you're a mom and you've noticed that a lot of the things that have worked from a diet and exercise perspective, maybe in your 20s, maybe even in your 30s, are no longer working, you're not alone. And there's a very good reason for that. And it's actually an exciting reason because now is an opportunity to find a more sustainable approach. And so that's what we're going to cover today is really talk about the new rules or really just the new way to look at fitness and nutrition and health to lose fat sustainably, to build some muscle and strength and to build an overall fit and healthy life that actually lasts when you're a mom. And so Brooks, I think, before we dive into all this, let's address the elephant in the room. Why the hell should moms listen to two dudes talking about this?
How dare we? How dare we talk about this? Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think there's two reasons, I think. So Herman and I, we've both just reflected a lot on who we've worked with most over the last, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in our coaching. And it's happened to be a lot of moms. And I think the biggest reason for that is we both resonate with a lot of the same struggles that moms do deal with. And then another piece of that is like, we've both kind of got into the social media game being like, there's so much BS out there. I fell for the BS. I hate seeing other people fall for it. And I want to help people see through it and see how simple it can be. And there's no one that is more misled and talked at and given reasons why they need a new approach or why they're broken than moms and women, in their late 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's, the all or nothing, the extremes, having success in the past, but kind of like obsessing over it. I think those are the big things that we see. I mean, I'm going to throw it back at you. Like, what are some of those things you think we resonate with most when it comes to moms?
Yeah, one, I think both you and I have a very new perspective and appreciation for this,
Yeah.
especially with babies in the picture, right? And
Yeah.
not just for ourselves, but like literally watching my wife and all the things that she juggles, from like the really crazy thing is you have a human being that you're raising, maybe multiple human beings. And like our daughter can't even walk yet. She can't even talk back. So I can't imagine how much crazier this gets once they're like literally walking, talking back to you. You're becoming a chauffeur for them, driving around like to sporting events and everything like that. And then on top of that, you've got a job that you have to go to, that you have to use your brain power for all day. And then you come home and have to try to figure out a meal for everybody that is decently healthy. And also, by the way, find some time to work out, right? Like there's a lot out there. And so what's so hard, I feel like before learning about nutrition science and exercise is that it just, everything you hear online makes this sound so much more complicated than it really is. And it forces people to think like this is what I hate the most about the women's health space. The vast majority of content out there makes it seem like their body is broken,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just not the truth. Like the reality is the system is broken. The vast majority of diet advice out there is utter BS. And a lot of there's so much good marketing around like these workouts are going to shred belly fat and these are the foods that you have to avoid because it's going to spike your cortisol. And we can talk about all of that, but like what I have enjoyed the most from working with our clients is just simplifying this whole thing
Mm-hmm.
and making fitness and nutrition feel less suffocating, right? And more enjoyable. Because the whole reality is like we're doing this to be able to enjoy life more, right? Not less. So like your diet and your workout plan should not make you feel like you have to choose between enjoying a slice of pizza with your kids or, having good body composition and good health overall.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the really important thing that I really want to make sure that we are highlighting today.
Yeah. I mean, that just reminded me of one of our client wins this week. So this client has been working with you most of this year. And I was so pumped about this because it's like, yeah, the weight loss or the strength PRs or whatever it is, the visual changes are cool. Yeah, it's cool. People love that. We love that. But this really encapsulates what I think we're about. She said, it's weird because I don't have any particular wins, but I feel like I'm winning. Does that make sense? I'm consistent with my workouts, my meals, my routine, ... I'm at peace. And it's like,
Yeah.
that is so cool.
Yeah.
That client has gotten insane results, but it's her life now. And I think that's the North Star, right? It's your
Mhm.
life. You're enjoying the process and you don't feel restricted and you're getting great results. Like, that's cool.
Dude, one time a client I work with, she had said this and it has stuck with me forever. She's like, "What's so hard to describe about your coaching, your messaging is that it's not like this crazy fat loss transformation, which is what everybody out there promises, right? Like lose 20 pounds in 30 days. And it's just like the real transformation. And what she brought up is like, I feel like I finally have freedom from just like this constant worry about my diet and my workouts. And like I actually feel fit and healthy and I feel like I can do it forever. Like this is an approach that I can actually do forever. Like that is I think that's where me and you resonate with the most. Right?
Yeah.
Because like we felt that. We felt that like that fitness approach where it literally is controlling your life
Yeah.
and to be able to move away from that and to understand like, oh, I can still have, like we're not, this is not for you if you want to be shredded and have a six pack. Like, that's not what our coaching is for, but you can be pretty lean, right? Like, I mean, like lean enough that you're feeling good in your clothes, your pants are fitting well, you feel like you can go on hikes with your family, right? And you feel strong carrying, holding your kids up in the air. And like, that is the real transformation that for so many people, I honestly think the vast majority of people, that's what they want. And the fitness space just kind of takes that and believes everybody wants to be a bodybuilder. And I don't think that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the common theme of most of the people I talk to on consultations is they they have a great family. They love their kids. It's not like I'm talking to people that are like, oh, I literally can't do this because of my weight or my health. It's more so like I can, but there's just this haze over everything I do across the board. Like if I solve this, it's not like it's going to change the external, like if you were watching my life on a movie, it's not like I'm doing much differently. It's just that I love my family, I love my life, I love my social life, do great at work, but the entire time it's just in the back of my mind. It's like
Right.
I'm either on top of it and I'm obsessing and it takes all of my bandwidth, so then I can't be there or enjoy an ice cream cone with kids or whatever, or I'm off and all I'm doing is thinking about how I'm off. And a, it's like when your ears pop coming off the airplane,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh my gosh, like you really realize it at that point. Maybe that wasn't a
Yeah.
great analogy, but
No, I
I
love that.
okay, good. Like, yeah, I think just, hey, let's be more present for this amazing life you have and get to a point where you can keep these results without obsession. So, and real quick, I want to make one quick note. Some of these things we're going to go over aren't necessarily because you're a woman or because you're a woman over 40. Some of these things just apply to most people across the board. So it's very easy for people to target you because you're a woman and say people like us don't understand, but we do understand what the literature says, and we have a lot of experience working with over 300 women combined, maybe more over the last
Yeah.
few years. So this comes from a place of understanding the literature and our own experience with clients. So yeah, Herman, what's the new rule number one here?
Yeah. So rule number one, it's time to start focusing on muscle. And a really big piece of this, I think this kind of like encompasses the whole idea around muscle definition, and really your overall metabolism too. And this is not going to turn into like a how do we rev up and boost that metabolism, and we're going to build all this muscle and it's going to have your metabolism soaring through the roof. But the reality is, working with a lot of moms and what I've seen in the past, and this is what I used to do too, is like most people are very used to doing hours of cardio every week. What's crazy is like a lot of clients that start working with us, they're working out like 6 or 7 times a week, which is wild, right? And they feel like they need to work out that often to see any kind of results, yet it's still not really producing anything. I like that I resonate with so much. The P90X, the T25s, like those whole pieces, you feel like if you don't get 5 days in a week, it's not enough, which is crazy because that's way that I would argue that's too much for most people.
Yeah.
You know, you're really focusing on just burning as many calories as possible. And you have this entire belief that more is better, right? The more I work out, the better my results are. And that couldn't be further from the truth.
Mhm.
So, what is, from your perspective, what do people need to start moving towards instead of that approach?
Yeah, and I think a big part of this is like you can't get away with some of the things you could quote unquote get away with when you had a lot more time on your schedule, a lot more sleep under your belt, because over time all of us or most people on average are going to lose some muscle mass and they're going to be less active with a job and things like that. And the reason I bring that up is a lot of people I talk to, the things you just described, they're like, yeah, but that worked great for me 10,
Hmm.
15 years ago. So they really kind of latch onto that. And they're like, no,
Hmm.
that's what I need to do. I looked great. And it's like, well, what else was different in your life at that time? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And two things from like a body composition perspective that I think are really important here, especially for women as you start getting near like ages of 40 and above, is that number one, you lose 3 to 7% of your muscle mass every decade after turning 30, which is why, you know, like those things that might have worked in your 20s, like you still had all of your muscle mass. And people think of muscle as like kind of like this like bodybuilder, you know, like people will say like I don't want to be bulky, but the reality is what muscle actually looks like is just it's toned, right? Like if you think about a toned body
Hmm.
with muscle definition, that's what muscle creates is that kind of like lean, strong, it's more dense than fat. So it literally takes up less space in your body. So two people weigh, you know, 150 pounds, the person with more muscle is going to literally look smaller, like leaner, and more compact. So once that starts kind of going away, well, what does that get replaced with? Body fat,
Hmm.
right? And then the other thing is like, look, we are not, I also want to be clear, like me and you are not menopause experts by any means or like hormonal experts. We've studied a lot. We've tried to learn as much as we can. And quite honestly, there's still a lot more research that needs to be done
Hmm.
on this. Like, I think it's amazing that they're finally starting to address this because I feel like menopause in general was something like it was just not talked about in the past and is being talked about more, which has pros and cons because it also leads to a lot of charlatans, you know, spewing BS. But like what we do know is that when you start entering those years of perimenopause, menopause is your fat distribution does change because of your hormonal shifts. And so a lot of women, you know, typically before that, you might be storing more fat like in your hips and your legs. You start storing a little bit more of that in your belly, which is like, and you hear about a meno belly, right? And it's a very real thing. And so that's why, like, I think as women, it becomes very confusing. I'm like, well, what the hell? Like, I haven't changed anything, but my body is changing. And those are two, I think, really big reasons for why that is. And so muscle I think becomes a very big piece of how we kind of rearrange what that body composition is.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think a huge disconnect right there that really overwhelms a lot of the women we talk to in these groups is that people will tell you what Herman just told you, which is true. But then they'll give you a solution that is not evidence based, that needs to be this drastically different solution than the principles we're going to share with you right now. And
Right.
that's not to discount that this is a hard time. I don't understand what it's like to see your body change like that in the mirror, all those things. We just want to make sure you're equipped with the right solution here. So, and from a more like logistical standpoint of what you truly need during this phase of your life, because you don't have as much time, you need something time efficient. You need something that's flexible. One of the big ones is I talk to people who they've been trying to do the group classes, and then it's like kids this, work that. And it's like they can't get there to the class and then they do nothing instead. Or they're getting fined for not showing up for the class. They're like, my kid just threw up on me. Like, come
Right.
on. I'm already paying you $200 a month. Like, you're fining me now. But
Yeah.
so you need something flexible, time efficient, and something that's going to be like, if you only have 2 hours a week total to work out, we need the best bang for our buck when it comes to body composition. And what that is strength training for muscle.
Mhm. This piece, I think like this is such an unbelievable game changer for overall body composition. And I think of like one client in particular who she just shared. Do you know what I'm talking about? She just shared a picture in our
Yep.
group that showed like literally like her holding her old pants or
Yeah.
her current pants and like showing the amount of space between her pants and her belly. And why I bring her up is because like I worked with her for 6 months, maybe. And like,
Probably.
and we really started focusing on weight loss and being in a calorie deficit. And, you know, she got great results there. I think she only wanted to lose like 10, 15 pounds totals. And then it was like really like there was like more to go that she felt like, well, I still want like my body to be like to look different, to look more fit, to look leaner. And I was really pushing like this is where the strength training comes in. This is where building muscle comes into play. And it took a long time for her to really actually trust that this is the legit way to go. And a lot of the conversation was like, well, but maybe I just lose 5 more pounds, right? Maybe I just continue like on this calorie deficit. And there's a point where it's just becomes so hard to cut calories more and more, right? Like at some point, like it's literally not worth it from going out to dinner and stressing out with your family, you know, going to holiday parties and bringing your own Tupperware, like all those things is just like the quality of life is is not worth 5 more pounds on the scale because the less you weigh, the less calories you can eat, right?
And
And so if you're at the same weight, you start strength training, you start really focusing, and the most important thing is here because a lot of people will say like, well, I use dumbbells in my class, right? Like every Wednesday, like we use dumbbells and we're lifting heavy weights and I'm trying to lift more over time, but like maybe they've gone from like a 25-pound dumbbell to a 30-pound dumbbell in like 5 months, right? Structured, strategic strength training is like on a consistent basis. Are you increasing reps and weight almost weekly, right? And if you're doing that, your body is going to change. Like you will get more toned, you'll get more defined, your core will tighten up. And once she finally leaned into that, now she's like, she can't stop talking about, oh my God, this strength training thing works, you know, which like that from me is like as a personal experience, I can't think of a single thing that changed my body more than structured progressive overload strength training to a point where like I was so much less focused on the scale and trying to just weigh less because I was like, this is amazing. Like this is what I wanted the whole time. And I don't have to worry about eating less. Sign me up. And
yeah, and I experience the same thing. That's what I love for all of my clients. And I think a big part of that is just understanding that with more muscle mass, you can have the same, if not a more lean tone defined look at a higher number on the scale, which means you get to eat more food without gaining weight, which means you have more flexibility for the things in your life. And for women that, and men, but for women who are moms who have lost, you're inevitably going to have seasons where you're not utilizing your muscles as much, or you aren't able to work out, or like, of course, it's great if you worked out through your pregnancy. Not the reality for a lot of pregnant women. Not that, you can't, and we could help you with that. But I'm just saying that as that muscle mass comes down, there's so much out there about your metabolism and these things. Well, it's very important to understand the biggest determinant of your metabolism day to day is how much muscle you have on your body. And that's a lot easier to understand than someone like telling you your metabolism. Like, I just think that's such a buzz, that
yeah,
word, that it makes it so vague that all of a sudden you're like, oh, what? I can't, that's not going to work for me now. So, yeah, I mean, strength training, strength training, strength training. We did a whole episode, I think, right,
yep,
on how to implement that. So that's number one, and that's going to really protect your metabolism as you age and increase it too at any given weight on the scale, so that it's it pays off for the long haul, not just today. You're not just
Yep.
burning calories today, you're burning more calories for the rest of your life. And that's going to be what, I mean, I don't think either of us would disagree that this is the number one thing across the board that will change everything for you.
100%. Because especially like from a women perspective, you talk about hormone changes and hormonal health. There are very few things that will improve your hormonal health like strength training
Hmm.
and building muscle,
Hmm.
and not just so like this isn't just a body composition perspective. This is a hormonal health perspective. This is a bone health and bone density as you get older and just staying strong, right? Like instead of just trying to chase just the thinnest body possible, like having strength. Like there's nothing that gives me more joy than when clients are like, I went for a hike with my family and I was leading the pack. I wasn't just like holding them back. Right. Or, like when the kids got hurt the other day and I had to carry her inside and I felt strong doing it. Like that is like, that is so unbelievably important as you get older and age, right? Because the reality is the leading causes of death for people as they enter like, 65, 70, 80 is falling. Is falling and not having the strength for your bones to support something like that. So this is like I think this is so incredibly important for overall health and life beyond just body composition. The other thing I think is important to mention with the metabolism piece is walking because again kind of talking about how the old way of thinking about this is okay, doing all these crazy hit classes, whether it's Orange Theories or Pelotons or F45s, like whatever it is, 5 6 days a week. Um and the reality is like everyone's so obsessed with how many calories do you burn in a class, right?
Hmm.
But we burn 90 to 95% of our calories outside of the gym, outside of our workouts. So, like, and I literally think back to when I was doing Orange Theory 3 times a week. Like, I would go in, I'm like, oh my God, I burned 500 calories. And then I would be so sore and tired that I would just sit on the couch for like the rest of the day. And
Yeah.
that's when you're burning the most calories, is just walking around, moving through life. And it was such a fundamental, important shift because I also don't want to scare people. Like, cardio is not bad for you, and cardio is not going to make you fat. Like, none of that is true. But I do think there's people probably are just overdoing it. I think it's shifting some of that time into strength training and then also just shifting some of that time into resting is an important piece. And so, like, I still think it's great if you want to do cardio, like zone 2, maybe a high intensity sprint or something like once or twice a week. Um, but the vast majority of movement, I think, should just be coming from just going on walks and getting steps on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think the big thing is there's a big misunderstanding that exercise inherently is a heavy hammer when it comes to moving the scale or moving energy balance or a calorie deficit. And
Mhm.
it's just not, unless you're living in the gym and spending hours, which if you're a mom, you're just probably not. It's just not that strong of a calorie burn to be able to move the needle very much for you.
Mhm.
That's not to say it doesn't help, but it's very easy to, there's a quote I've seen 8 million fitness influencers post. You can burn 500 calories on the treadmill in an hour and you can eat 500 calories of a muffin in 2 minutes. But, it is true. So understanding that with limited time, your time exercising should be spent. You should think about it as, what adaptation am I after with this session? And
Mhm.
if you're limited on time, I would prioritize the first 1 to 2 hours per week that you have available to stimulating muscle growth. And then anything beyond that with formal exercise, think of it as brain health, lung health, heart health. That's what you're getting from cardio. It's just really not that great for burning a bunch of calories. And then those steps, you can piece that together at the kids' practices, at the grocery store, breaks during your day at work. Like, it just is a totally different game when you're like, okay, I'm going to hit 3 strength workouts this week, and then I'm going to get 8,000 steps a day every day, and I'm just not going to be super burnt out. And I might add some cardio on top, but right now I know that this is going to get me closer to my body composition goals, and it's very doable.
Yep.
So cardio is great, just on top of a foundation of steps and strength.
Yep. Yeah. So, okay. So, recapping this first one, what is kind of like the tactical new rule that we need to make sure that people walk away with?
The new rule is to zoom out from calories in, calories out today and start thinking about the big picture. How do I improve calories out for the rest of my life? And what that's going to mean is strength training to support muscle mass, which is also going to really help your body composition.
How often?
3 days per week,
Yep.
2 to 4, three is great, two minimum,
How long is each session?
30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah. Perfect.
And that'll be a great start.
Yep. Steps, would you say like
Eight.
at least 8,000? And if you're not, if you're not there right now, doesn't mean you to get there overnight by any means. Work up. If you're at 4,000 today, can you start getting to 6,000? Right? Then kind of working your way up. But I would say for like really to have a flexible approach to nutrition life and making it a lot easier. If you can get over 8,000 per day, it helps a ton.
Yeah. Yeah. I I got to throw this in real quick. We can't have this conversation without talking about hormones.
Yep.
Do hormones impact your metabolism? Yes, they do.
Hmm.
Like your thyroid it makes a pretty big impact on the calories you burn in a day, on your
Hmm.
metabolic rate. Does that mean you need to go all fancy and follow somebody on Instagram and buy a supplement or do something like that? No. There's solutions for anything going on with your thyroid or things that go on through menopause. Your estrogen's changing, your testosterone's changing, your progesterone's changing. But taking like a multivitamin that some influencer has, just it like you either need the hormone replacement or you don't.
Right.
And hormone replacement can be very, very helpful if you have specific menopausal symptoms. Go to a doctor.
Yeah.
And then like that's going to be like that should be this part of this. If you have
100%.
symptoms, talk to a a hormone doctor, an endocrinologist, primary care, or if you want to go the telehealth route, there's great routes for that too. But let's not like everything outside of that conversation, that is just going to help you get more out of the rest of this conversation we're having.
Yep. 1000%. Look, I think that's a very real thing that your hormones do change and fat loss and fitness and life in general becomes harder. Like from working with many women in their 40s and 50s and even 60s, like that's a reality. And I think people who, coaches online who like pretend that hormones don't matter at all and nothing changes, like it just does a disservice because it's like this is real lived experiences for them. Like you're saying that they're lying, you know what I mean? And so it is a very real thing. Your hormones definitely do change, and it makes being consistent with all this much harder. And so if you do suspect that like there's actually something changing from a hormonal shift that you want to get checked out, I completely agree. Like go to a real doctor. Don't buy a supplement from the girl that you went to high school with that's now like holding up a supplement. It's like this is gonna fix your sleep and it's gonna fix all your hormonal issues. Like that's all bullshit. That's all just a marketing ploy. Please go to an actual doctor if you suspect that, because HRT, hormonal replacement therapy, could really be an option that helps a lot of people at this age.
Yeah. Yeah. And do that alongside the steps and the strength training and what we're about to
Yes.
talk about with nutrition,
Yep.
because it's not something, if your hormones are in the gutter and there's a lot going on, you technically could still make progress.
Mhm.
Like that is undeniable. You could, it might be a lot harder. Think of this as, think of going to the doctor as making this easier to accelerate everything else we're talking about, not a thing where it's like, I have to be fixed before I can make changes in my life.
Exactly.
Because moving more, getting outside, strength training, those things are going to support your hormones too.
Yep.
So it's a two-way street.
Yep. All right. What is rule number 2
Be realistic and flexible with your nutrition approach.
as opposed to what?
I mean, I think number one is if you are trying to check the box or your approach is that you can't have certain things or certain things are good or bad, you're taking a black and white approach, you're setting yourself up to continue to fail.
Yeah. And look, I think the number one thing that if you were to take away from this nutrition piece is every single diet you hear about there, no matter what foods they cut out, no matter what they say about carbs or sugar or anything else, every single one of them works for the exact same reason, because they reduce calories. That's it. And whether your calories come from carbs, fats, from bread, from pizza, like whatever it is, at the end of the day, it's all going to lead to the same result depending on your total calorie number. And
Mhm.
now, of course, there are foods that make it easier, right? Like if you're eating pizza all day versus broccoli, like obviously one is going to lead to more calories and more cravings, less hunger, right? All those things. But like just accepting that very, very real fact that it is all come down to total calories and all foods can fit into that equation, I think makes this whole thing much easier. Because once we can kind of move away from these any kind of diet that's like you can't eat this ever again, whether it's keto, paleo, you name it, right? That's like really creating this restrictive mentality, all or nothing mindset, with off limit foods and food rules. This whole thing gets so much easier.
And I think it's because you go from a pass fail, which just breeds perfectionist mentality, all or nothing. You go from a pass fail approach to a letter grade approach or a scalable approach. And I do want to throw in real quick the reason that you'll see people say you need to eat more to lose fat, apparently, or you need, you're in starvation mode. The reasons people might have success with that is because of what we talked about in the first step here, where it's all about building muscle mass and building up your metabolism with just daily movement and muscle mass to burn more calories. So if you do that, you can see results while eating a bit more calories, but it doesn't change the fundamental, principle of weight loss. That means reducing calories in relative to calories out is how you're going to lose body fat.
Yep.
And so that's a big confusing one for women for sure, because people are like, yeah, you're just not eating enough. And, if you have body fat to lose and some weight to lose, that's not true. And I understand why that's overwhelming and confusing, because people make a really good story out of it. But, get the strength training in, build your metabolism, build your muscle mass, and that's going to allow you to get more bang for your buck and be able to see some progress on 15, 16, 1700, 1800 calories instead of having to cut it super low because you're not moving and you don't have any muscle supporting your metabolism in the day.
100%. And I think, look, a big piece of this, I think it's so important to learn how to actually fit life in, right? Like the research is actually very clear on this. Like we have a lot of studies that show the more you cut out foods and the more you focus on restricting and eliminating, the more you want those foods. And the harder it is to be consistent with this. And so, like, the vast majority of diets that, you know, cut out entire food groups do not have very good long term success rates. And that's for a very logical reason. Like, we're
Yeah.
not good at this all or nothing black and white, just completely eliminating things forever. So I think the better approach and what the research shows as well, and what we've seen with clients is focus on adding foods. Focus on adding foods that are going to make you feel full, satiated. They're going to support your overall health, energy, and nutrition. And primarily is protein, fiber, and I think just veggies overall. And those like when clients start, that's the first things we focus on. It's like we're giving a calorie goal, but like I really want to make sure, are you eating enough protein? Are you eating enough fiber? Are you getting enough veggies in your day? Because that's gonna help so much with hunger, with cravings, your blood sugar regulation, your energy throughout the day, and not to mention just like your overall long-term health.
Yeah.
Increasing your fiber is one of the best ways to reduce all-cause mortality.
Yeah.
And so with that all being said, then like if we're getting, 80% of our diet is coming from whole nutrient dense foods made up of a ton of fiber, protein, veggies, the other 20%, enjoy life, right? Go get pizza, grab ice cream with the kids, enjoy your book club that's secretly a wine club, right? Like those, I think it gives you permission to understand like, oh, I can have a cookie after dinner, like, or like for me, like literally have my graham crackers every night after dinner, right? It just fits into my calories. I still get my protein. I still eat veggies. I still hit my fiber goal, but those foods are not off limits. And that is so freeing for so many people.
And the biggest thing here is, like you said, the switch in your mindset and the response to restriction when it's no longer a rule. Like, I'm sure, this is an episode for moms. What happens when you tell a kid they can't do something? Does that make them say, oh, okay, never mind, I'm not interested anymore? No, like, if you're focused on what you can't have, that takes up all your attention and that's all you're focused on. So all of a sudden, when it's like, hey, we're going to get pizza Friday, but let's get 120 grams of protein in before that in the day. Let's get 25 grams of fiber in from some veggies and some fruits in the day. Let's get you really full. And then, yeah, you can have pizza. All of a sudden, you might be having 2 slices of pizza instead of 5 or 6 because you're not trying to get the most out of the pizza because you're being bad and cheating on your plan and all this spiraling goes on. And then you're not even enjoying it. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, I can have this if I want. How do I make
Uh-huh.
this work? How can
Mhm.
I, prioritize my protein and fiber ahead of this? And then, oh, I can make 2 slices work in my calorie goal. I'm going to just do that.
Yeah.
And that's that.
And the greatest thing about this is like it's not just your day-to-day calories. It's averages over time,
Yeah.
right? So like that's the biggest thing too is when life is going to happen. You're going to travel, you're going to go to birthday parties, you're going to have weekends that there's not even a veggie in sight cuz your friends don't eat like that. You know what I mean? And like that's okay. Right? It's all this on having this understanding that you can just move on and just focus on the next meal, and all that matters is your average calories over time is incredible. It just makes it so much easier to actually be consistent with this in the long term rather than trying to be 100% perfect for a little amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Okay. So within that context of just overall outlook, not cutting anything out directly, what is going to get mom's results without driving them crazy or being too extreme or, requiring 8 hours of meal prep every week?
So, I think the most important things is number 1, we had to have a way to manage calories. With our clients, the vast majority of them find the most success with tracking your food. It doesn't need to be like, I think tracking calories, macros in general for a lot of people, like they've had experiences in the past maybe where they've tried it and it's just been super like restrictive or like it has to be a perfect approach. And that's not the reality. Like you don't need to track every single bite and like we're not trying to be bodybuilders like going to on stage for a prep show. Like that's not what this is. It's just it creates awareness. It creates a predictable pattern. And what the really cool thing is like within our app that we use with clients, now we actually have an AI assistant that you literally can put in your picture or describe the meal you had and it instantly uploads it to your food log. So tracking is getting way easier in general. And again, like with all my clients, I make it so clear like I do not expect you to track 100% of your food and that's okay. Um Number 2 then is protein and having a protein goal. Typically, we recommend 0.7 grams per pound of body weight. If you have, I'd say if you have over 20, 30 pounds to lose, use your target body weight to just not make it a ridiculous goal. Like you do not need 200 grams of protein, like some people will say out there.
Mhm.
Um, and the last piece is fiber. And so for women, the general recommendation is to get at least 25 grams of fiber per day. This is the one that, like, I think there's so much talk about protein out there, and I think for good reason. But I would say for vast majority of people, would you agree that fiber is the much bigger opportunity? Like, I think people are closer to their protein goal than they actually realize and what it's made seem online. I think most people are pretty far away from their fiber goal.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about this week. Like, I wouldn't even say protein is overrated. It's like, I think it's well appreciated now. It's not overrated, but it's no longer underrated. Like, people didn't pay attention to it enough maybe 10 years ago, but now it's all anybody talks about. But yeah, Fiber doesn't get enough love.
Yeah. And like, I mean, ideally, I would say like there's nothing wrong with supplementing and using a protein powder and, getting maybe some like high fiber tortillas or bars. But I really think like if you can get maybe 80% of those goals from mostly like whole foods, right? So for fiber, fruits, veggies, whole grains, beans, lentils, um, it's going to help so much more from like an overall hunger satiation and just like general nutrition and health. So that's what I would target. Again, like I don't think you have to cut out all processed foods, but I do think it would make your goals and your overall health better.
Yeah. And and that's where tracking is the best because it's like you don't need to listen to anybody else tell you what you should or shouldn't eat or what's a good or a bad food. If you if you're tracking and you're paying attention to how you feel, you're just going to start to see like, "Oh my gosh, if I get 25 grams of fiber from fruits and vegetables and whole grains every day and my protein goal, I am so full and it is a game changer." Instead of like just thinking, "Is this good? Is this bad? Should I include this or not?" You're just going to see it for yourself and build that awareness, and it's a total game changer. And then like your total calories and protein and fiber for the day is what matters most. I wouldn't overcomplicate that with like 6 tiny meals. Generally try to eat the same amount of meals each day. So like a lot of my clients, that ends up being 3 meals, maybe 1 snack with that. And that's great. Like fasting really not going to change anything about your body composition results if we control for calories, protein, fiber. So, and honestly, most of my clients, I have them doing a higher protein and fiber breakfast rather than doing less food because it's like we want to stay full ahead of when we get a little more tired and less self-control later in the day. So, and then at that point just find your go-tos and go to them all the time. Realistically, you're eating 5 to 15 meals, 80% of the time. If it's not broke, don't fix it, right? Just find those go-tos and go to them over and over and then mix something in and try it and you'll all of a sudden you'll be crushing it
Yep.
within, a month.
Okay. And then the last thing I would bring up for this one is like probably so counterintuitive to what most people would say. Plan your treats in. Like honestly, like I would rather you say like I'm gonna have a cookie or my favorite candy or whatever, like after dinner. Um and just plan it in to just like I think the more you kind of just have those things like I'll have one cookie or I'll have one piece of candy. Like so many people are kind of like, well, but once I have it, I can't stop. And it's like, yeah, but have you tried actually allowing yourself to have it? Rather than having this like super, oh my God, I can't have that, I can't have that, I can't have that. And then once you do, it's like the floodgates open.
Yep.
Once you start kind of like incorporating it and understanding like this isn't ruining my progress. There's nothing wrong with having this. You start noticing that it's much easier to kind of like actually have it without going off the rails every time you do. So like I honestly think it's a great idea to just have more enjoyable foods throughout the week. Um, so that you're not just getting to the weekend and being like, oh my God, every single meal is so boring. Like I just need to go get ice cream. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think when you make that switch, you end up it kind of turns that on its head. Whereas before you have a less than ideal lunch and then it's like, fuck it, let's make the most of this day and get something for dinner. All of a sudden you make this switch where it's like, I know I can make that work. Damn, that was a lot of calories. Now I kind of would prefer maybe, a
Yes.
quote unquote cleaner meal for dinner. Because you'll just start to notice how much more full and how much better you feel as you eat those.
Yep.
So, all right. Anything else on nutrition?
Uh, no, we're good.
Okay. So, I mean, maybe that last point I made would be a good segue into, I mean, the biggest thing here is, and here we go, we're going to talk for 8 hours on this mindset, consistency, embracing imperfection, long term consistency. Really, that's all it's about. A
Mhm.
lifestyle change, balance. And I mean, what I just left off with there, one of my favorite, frameworks to always keep in mind is really paying attention to doing more of the things that make you feel good instead of trying to avoid feeling bad.
Yeah. Yeah. This is, and this one too, like we have to be so realistic, right? The reality is work meetings run late,
Yeah.
kids get sick. And beyond all that, you just have random Wednesdays and Thursdays where you're coming home and it's winter and it's dark and cold and you're like, I just want Wendy's. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, that's the reality of actual life outside of Instagram and all this fitness influencer noise.
Yeah.
And so like, this has to be part of the approach, and it's not woo woo. It's just that you have to give yourself some damn grace,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's never going to be perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect. And with that, like, grace requires action on the other side, right? Like, we need both. We need permission and accountability,
Yeah.
right? Understanding that, okay, if I went over my calories yesterday, if I missed my workout, nothing happens. Like, I didn't ruin anything. I didn't screw anything up. I simply just move on and focus on the next meal. Right. And just keep going. And so like, this piece right here is how this all comes together. And it's so important. And I really love that now we're with our clients in our program, like, we're keeping track of the percent consistency go
Mhm.
forward, because I think it's so great for people to see. Like, the reality is, if most people are consistent to the point of, if you hit your calories, your protein, your fiber, your workouts, your steps, etc., on like 80% of days, you're probably going to see results, right?
Mhm.
Like, if you would it be faster if you did it 100% of days? Sure, right? But you're still going to be moving in the right direction if you're doing that. Like, and assuming the other 20% is not like 10,000 calories, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like, obviously there's a middle ground here, but being able to see that and to understand there's nothing wrong with having some off days, off meals, off weeks. It's just focusing on the bigger picture. And like I always say, it is way better to be 80% consistent for 30 years than 100% perfect for 30 days.
Yeah. I love that one. And also just comparing yourself to always reminding yourself, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. You know, what did we do last week? What did we do last month? What did we do last year? Because I was just talking with someone that she nailed, 25 grams of fiber, like 120 grams of protein, and hit 8,000 steps. And it was the first time she did those three things. I was like, fantastic work. That's incredible. And she
Mhm.
goes, I wonder if you listen to this podcast, you know who you are. She goes, well, it's not incredible. Other people do that all the time. And I was like, other people, what is that? No, give yourself the win. Celebrate yourself. Like, be kind to yourself. And like you said, with the grace, this was a huge shift for me. The game changes when you recognize the voice in your head that's really mean to you.
Yeah.
Because for
Yeah.
the longest time, you don't question, it's just part of your experience, and you're beating the shit out of yourself. And then that moment where you're like, oh my God, I don't have to listen to that.
Mhm.
It's obviously gonna be easier sometimes than others, but it's a long-term game of just challenging that. I think when we had Azul on, she mentioned, talk to yourself like you talk to a friend. I love that one. Or if you're a mom, talk to yourself like you talk to your kid. Or really just seeing that, because it can be easy to get wrapped up in that. So
Which by the way, like, if you're a mom, you already have this approach when it comes to kids,
right.
right? And if you're a working mom, you already have this approach when it comes to your job.
Yeah.
Like, those things are never going to be perfect,
Yeah.
right? But because those things, like, we don't really have a choice. Like, if you have a job, that's very likely, like, you probably have to work, right? Maybe not for everybody, but like, for in most situations. And if you have kids, you can't just be like, oh, I just don't want to take care of them anymore. I mean, you could, but you probably shouldn't. Um, and so like, you already have this approach that, like, it's not going to go perfect, but every time something goes wrong, I'm not going to stop and quit. I'm just going to try to make it a little bit better, right? I'm just going to learn from that experience and keep going. And if you think about like being a parent, especially if you have your first kid, right? Like, I think back to the first couple months even of having a baby, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so much easier the next time that I know all this. Like, that was like so worried about in my head, right? I mean, it'll be a whole different challenge having two kids, but it's, you learn, you keep getting better, you keep growing. And fitness and nutrition are no different. So when you start moving away from this like on and off mentality, either I'm succeeding or I'm failing, to just like, looking at it as like a dial that you just turn up and turn down sometimes, right? And like it's the holidays right now. I think it's a perfectly suitable time for some people to turn down the fitness dial a little bit and turn up the life dial, right?
Mhm.
And enjoy some more holiday parties, enjoy cookies from grandma, like all those things. And doesn't mean you have to stop by any means entirely. It just means that you're taking things and you're adjusting it based on the season of life that you're in. And that is, it's so unbelievably important to understand that being perfect with these things is not what gets results. Being good enough for a very long time is what gets results.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what it all comes down to that. And it it's so hard because that is so true. And for me at least, and a lot of my clients, you kind of remind them of these things, or I would remind myself of these things. Yeah, yeah, I know that. Like, well, I know. It's like you know that, but you're not, it's the practice of reminding yourself of that over and over and over and over and over,
Mhm.
as much as your mind wants to just be like, well, yeah, but, and then the but comes in and it's like, but I didn't do this or I didn't do that. And, with a couple of our clients this week in our wins chat, we were encouraging, and I had this come up on a call too. One of my clients, she's like, well, I've just been having trouble coming up with wins because I've already been doing this or something like that.
Uh,
Like her steps were like 15,000 a day. She's like, yeah, but that's my normal. It's like, okay, that's a huge win. Your normal is 15,000 steps. Was it always like that? Well,
yeah,
no, like not at all. A year ago, 2 years ago, it was 6.
yeah.
Okay. So can we celebrate the fact that your new normal for steps is 15,000? That's insane.
Mhm.
Like, keeping that in mind, and I mean, I'm sure I've talked about this on the podcast, but my favorite framework for this concept is the gap and the gain. And essentially, all it is you're either living in the gap or you're living in the gain. And the gap is from where you are right now to where you want to be, and the gain is where you are right now from where you started. And you could always find the gain. But the thing is, our mind is oriented towards the negative to protect us, to keep us alive, to beat us up, to keep us moving. And so the gap never arrives because when you get to the future place you want to be, there's just a new future place. So there's another gap. So anytime you catch yourself, you just flip it around and say, where's the gain in this? And, even if you're doing less than before, then there's a gain in giving yourself some grace or another area of your life that probably took the front seat in that season. It's just a great framework to start identifying it more and seeing wins where you typically would only be focused on losses or quote unquote failure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the like working with clients and seeing the comments, like what stands out so much is I think people think that they're they're the lazy one. They're the undisciplined one.
Mm.
They're the ones that are having these challenges and everything's like going wrong and things are coming up. But it's just like it's just part of life. Like everyone experiences it. Like I would say half of like because what's cool in the app that we use is that every workout somebody does, they can leave a comment after the workout. And I love going through the comments and just seeing what people say. And there's like certainly there's comments that people are like crushed it, got like heaviest squat ever, which is awesome. I love that. But the vast majority of comments, and I honestly almost think these are even more important, is God, I was so tired this morning
Mm.
and I really did not want to get in there, but I ended up doing it anyways. Wasn't my best workout, but got it done. I'm like, hell yes. Like that is, and I wish I could take those and plaster it across everywhere for everybody to see that that's not just them. Like that's the vast majority of people most of the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like most of the time it's like your workout is going to be fine. Most of the time your meals are going to be put together and they're going to get close to your goals but it's not going to be anything that you want to put on an Instagram cover, you know? And sometimes it's just going to be chicken nuggets with your kids. Like that's just the reality of life and all of it is part of the big picture in the long run. And so like trying to make that messy middle be a normal part of the process is so helpful for making this whole thing sustainable, right? Because perfection doesn't exist. It's not real. It's never going to be real. And the sooner we can accept that and move away from all that noise online that tries to push us to be more disciplined, have more willpower, all that bullshit that isn't real life, the easier all this becomes.
The discipline one is so big. Like everyone I talk to, I just don't have the discipline, you know? And then I'm like, wait, didn't you just tell me you lost 90 pounds on Weight Watchers over like a year?
Yeah.
You did that for a year straight? Like counted everything or cut out carbs for 6 months? You don't have discipline? You didn't eat a carb for 6 months. What do you mean? You
Yeah.
know? Or what does your career look like?
Mhm.
What do your accomplishments as a mother look like? You've been showing up for your kids since the day they were born. And so the shift away from thinking you need more discipline. It's we all feel lazy. We all want to sit around. We all love tasty food and it's normal, and trying to white knuckle it is a losing game because
Mhm.
our environment and our emotional brain is going to win every time when we try to do that.
Yeah.
And if you win out, it's going to take up so much bandwidth and energy that you could be utilizing for work, for your family, that you're not going to find balance with that. And yeah, I think one of the biggest things I like about the frameworks we use is I don't think we're ever prescribing something that's pass fail to somebody. So your protein, your calories, your steps, your fiber, those are all things you can always do some of instead of all or nothing. And that's the biggest thing. It's like, if things get crazy, well, can we have 2 out of our 3 meals with a protein source and fiber instead of 3 out of 3? Or can
Mhm.
we get 6,000 steps instead of 8,000? Having that in your back pocket as like a bare minimum for yourself or a non-negotiable changes everything, because like you were saying, embracing the messy middle, going from 90% on your best days to 100% on your best days is a pretty marginal improvement. And those best days are far and few between. Going from 10% on your worst days to 50% on your worst days, which is easier to do, that's a 4x improvement,
Yeah.
as opposed to a 10 out of 90. Like that's where the money lies, is limiting the downside, going to some bare minimums, just getting that messy middle. I love that term because that's where progress is made.
Yeah. You don't need more discipline. You need an approach that actually fits your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is part of that a lot of people are mistaken with. It's because they had success with something that was all or nothing in the past. You can lose sight that maybe there's other ways. So you see like, well, that worked. Like I did that and it worked. I didn't work.
Mm.
And that's where it's
I
like,
couldn't stick with it.
right.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, well, maybe that's the problem and you aren't the problem.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Redefine your definition of what is success in the first place. Cause that's like that you hear that, oh, it worked before. Did it
yeah,
work?
right.
Did it
Why?
work if you couldn't sustain it, right? And like everyone talks about weight loss. Everyone gives you all these methods and diets and etc. Why aren't we talking about keeping it off?
Yeah,
Right? Like
right.
that's what actually matters. And so where's all the research and where's all the proof that when you do keto, paleo, all these things, that you actually keep the weight off, right? That you actually maintain these results for a long time, because it's not you. It's the vast majority of people that do these diets. It doesn't last very long. And that's the reason that we need a more sustainable approach at this point. Like we can't be going back to the things that give us results for 30, 60 days. And then we're staring in the mirror for 8 more months, wondering what the hell happened.
Yeah. And I think an important part of what you just said there is considering the end goal. Because the other thing could be like, maybe it did work and you did keep it off, but you're obsessed and you're missing out on the rest of your life. So keeping in mind your why and your values and what this is for you long term is also important because, yeah, on paper and in a before and after picture, something can appear to work very well. And then all of a sudden you see that you haven't had a fun meal with your kids or you've been obsessing over gaining weight on vacation every time you are supposed to be taking a break from work. That's not a break. That's, just more stress, right?
Yep.
So, uh,
Do you want to just kind of recap? um,
everything.
yeah.
All right. So the new rules for fitness as a mom. Number one, we got to shift to a muscle and metabolism focus first. With less time, with more stress, with more demands in your life, you got to get more bang for your buck with your time and your workouts. And the best way to do that is going to be focusing on muscle mass and strength training and then your protein intake, which is part of our nutrition plan here. 3 days per week, 30 to 45 minutes, lifting weights. That could be dumbbells at home. That could be at the gym. That's going to change your life. Progressive overload. That's the biggest part there. Yeah. How about nutrition? Or did I miss anything?
Nope. Got it. Nutrition. So nutrition, really moving away from restrictive fad diets, all or nothing mentality, trying to just eat as little as you possibly can, right? Cutting out all your favorite foods and moving to a flexible dieting approach and really focusing on adding more nutrient dense foods, right? So getting enough protein, getting enough fiber, getting enough veggies, and then looking at total calories over a longer time frame, weekly averages, and really, allowing yourself to enjoy your favorite foods and to fit them as part of your goals because there are no foods that are off limits.
Love it. Uh, well, in the I missed steps on the first part. So utilize that step count. 8,000 per day is a game changer. And then on the mindset side, first and foremost, let's ditch the good and bad, the perfect, the all or nothing. Let's not be cutting anything out specifically. Let's focus on a scalable plan, which is what we just talked through. You could always move up or down the ladder instead of stepping off completely with those numbers. Give yourself grace, challenge that voice in your head that shows up and really just likes to whip you into shape. And with that, focus on the gain instead of the gap. Anytime you catch yourself looking at where you'd like to be or where you're falling short, find somewhere in your life where you are of what you are doing. Celebrate yourself. Write down 3 wins every night before you go to bed. And then really start to think about what you're doing this for. Aligning this with your values. What is this about? Is this for presence with your kids? Is this for stamina? Is this for self-care? And that can start to become more of a guiding principle for the right decisions for you in any given moment instead of focusing on checking a box or passing or being good. You can start to just be your own coach over time.
Uh-huh.
Did I miss anything there?
No, I think the last thing I would say with all this, these are not rules.
Yeah.
We're done with rules, right? Because rules box us into this unsustainable, restrictive approach that doesn't last. And what this is it's a framework, right? It's a foundation, it's a platform that gives you some guidelines to follow, and it is a flexible approach that you can actually sustain and do for a very long time. And so I think that's such an important foundational shift is we're not just checking the box on all these things anymore. We're building something that is sustainable and that actually fits into your life.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think the last thing I want to say is just like, this is very doable. We'll put our client stories here below. And that takes me to our final point here, because I'm really excited. We're actually launching a new way to work with us. This is called the Strong Mom Collective. And we are opening up a founders round here. It's going to be an official launch of the program next month going into 2026. But we are looking for podcast listeners that are interested in joining our founders round. So there's just a couple weeks left after this will come out, but let me just kind of go over everything that we do, because we haven't really shared with you how we work with people, and we do coach people. But I think real quick before I get into this, what I want to say, because I've been reflecting on, because people will ask me, what makes you different? And the first way I like to answer that is not what makes us different, but what everyone else is going to tell you in response to that question.
Mm.
They're going to tell you that they have a unique system that's very fancy and probably has some buzzwords that is different than anything else you've tried, that is unique to them. And that's what it's all about. There will probably be some fancy words in there. And I think what makes us different is we refuse to tell you that, because it ends up labeling you with a problem, or it labels you as broken. And if we do that, and even if it gets you to buy in for 4 months, 6 months, it's going to be hard. This is hard. And if we do that and you have success and then you fall off, that's just going to reinforce what we just talked about a little bit ago. That was the thing that worked. I'm the problem. I'm broken. I can't stick with it. So I think as I talk through this, keep in mind, you just need somebody you can trust. And that's going to tell you the truth with all this. And that's what we'll do. We're going to stand by the science. We're going to stand by our experience. We're going to be honest with you, and we're going to be real. And the sooner we can do that, the sooner we can embrace long-term change, instead of temporary change. Would you add anything there, Herman, before I kind of break down what we do?
I think that last part is so important. Like, this isn't a gimmick.
Yeah.
Like we just want to help people build fit and healthy lives that they actually enjoy. And
Mhm.
so it is all about honesty, but it's all about, like I we're not these like experts that are sitting there and just staring down at you being like, here's the program, do it or else, you know, you fail. And like if it doesn't work, then like, no, that's not what it is. Like you understand your life best, right? You're gonna be in the driver's seat. We're gonna be right there along with you. We're gonna give you the tools, we're gonna give you the education, we're gonna give you everything you need to be successful. But like there's so many clients like I love staying, even the clients who graduate and move on, like staying friends with them.
Yeah.
Like I think that's such an important piece. Like we are here, like we are rooting for you. We want the best for you and in your health and your life overall. So I it's so important because like this isn't just a coaching program. Like I genuinely care about these people and I want the best for them.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. So Strong Mom Collective 4-month program is the starter. You can continue on with us. We have a couple different options at that point, but it's one-on-one coaching. So as I talk through this, everything is customized to you. This isn't cookie cutter. It's designed around you, your life, your specifics, and then it's adjusted every single week if needed to continue to fit it to your life. So we have our own app. Herman mentioned we have like an AI photo meal analysis tracker now, which is really cool, but nutrition's in there. Your workouts are in there, strength training workouts, typically 3 days a week, home or gym based on the equipment you have, program new every single month for you. Any other habits we're working on, your steps will sync into the app so we can see those. We will have you weigh in if we have a body weight change goal included. We'll do progress photos, we'll do body measurements. It's really cool to have. That's my favorite part, I think, is just having everything in one place. Like
Mhm.
nutrition, training, habits, mindset stuff. My steps are right there. My weight logs are right there. Everything's in one place.
Yeah. You
The
basically
workout,
never have to worry about your health and fitness again, right? Like it takes care of all. It's like having a financial advisor, but for fitness.
yeah. And I always tell people, because it says things to do today, which is so nice if you're like an overthinker, all or nothing
Right.
person, because you can just forget about it. But the reason you can forget about it is because every week there's 3 scenarios. You're following the plan we give you, and it's working, and it's great. And we keep going, and we see your wins, and we do whatever. Scenario 2 is you're following it and it's not working. Well, guess what? We have your body weight in front of us. We have your steps in front of us. We have your meal logs in front of us. We problem solve with you and adjust that plan to get results. And then scenario 3 is you're struggling to follow the plan. Well, we're usually in touch with most clients twice a week minimum. We're going to talk through and we're going to figure out what's hard right now and we're going to game plan together. And that's what coaching's about. So We do a weekly check-in form, and then we have unlimited messaging throughout the week, voice and text. So really it just becomes like, kind of your expert coach in your pocket 24/7. So if that's, hey, we're going out to eat this weekend, I want help with that, or sending a video of your form on your workouts, or just, hey, I'm like really struggling today and don't want to do anything and I'm beating myself up, or whatever it may be, we're right there. And then, of course, a big part of this founders round is like, we really want to get this mom community going. So I think we've got maybe 20 past clients in the moms group already, but to incentivize, really building the community, we're offering a founders round investment that is a lower investment for this program. We have group calls. You get Zoom calls as needed every month if needed. We've got an education platform. We'll build you a sample meal plan, not that it's required to follow, but just to give you ideas. We're sharing recipes. We're doing group challenges on mindfulness or steps or veggie intake to get kind of that competitive side, or that competitive itch scratched. What am I missing?
I think that's the big ones.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And like, I always feel a little weird talking about like, oh, the app has this, because it's really about the coaching. It's about the conversations. It's about the relationship with your coach and troubleshooting together
Yep.
and managing the entire process
Yeah.
together.
I mean, that's it. Like we're gonna do everything in our power to make sure you get closer to your goal.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
it.
Yep. And I always tell people the only way we don't make great progress is if you ghost us and we can't get a hold of you.
Yeah.
Because like, a lot of people are like, well, I need accountability. I need someone to be there and hold me accountable. And they have this idea that it's like we're going to bust into their house with a squirt gun to get them out of bed for the gym or something like that. But it's about us coaching you through how to hold yourself more accountable long term, rather
Yep.
than being like, did you do this or did you not do this? No, it's about exploring this together and adjusting together.
And again, like this is not for you if you just want to lose weight as fast as you possibly can and
Right.
don't care how you do it, don't care how you feel, like you're just like, just get it off me. I just want the scale to go down. This is not the program for you.
Yeah.
This is not the program for you if you want to get crazy lean and shredded and look like a bodybuilder and have six-pack abs. That's not what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And this is not the program for you if like you want to compete in a powerlifting meet, right? Which I think would be really cool and awesome, but that's not our strength. We're not trying to get you to be able to lift 500 pounds.
Okay.
This is for you if you want to build a fit, relatively lean, strong, healthy body, ready to build sustainable long-term habits, and you want to make sure that you can build a fitness and health system that fits into your life long term and you're okay with maybe taking a little bit of a longer approach as long as the results are real, they last, and you're ready to do this for the last time.
Amazing. Yeah. Well said. I mean, strength. Like, let's get strong.
Yeah.
Let's make it a lifestyle. Let's do this for the long haul. And, if you look at 6 to 12 months over the rest of your life, it's like 1% of the rest of your life, if that. And so a lot of people will end up wanting it quicker, but then, 5 years goes by and they've invested in 15 different things and they look back and it's like, well, if you would have just committed to the 6 or 12 month thing to begin with, you would have been there for 3 years by now. But all that to say, we're starting with 4 months and you can continue with us after that if you'd like. But I'll put the link below. So just click on that. You can see some of our client stories and see their transformations, because it's definitely possible to get there and be peaceful in your mind while keeping your results. So go listen to them. Don't listen to us talk about it. And you can just hit apply there or DM me on Instagram and I'll put those links below. Peace.
All right. See ya.